Welcome to Places Which Changed the World, Part 1. This is an unassuming little street. This is Russell Square, back of British Museum, just over there. Southampton Road, just here. If you like horror books, the Russell Hotel there is where Stephen King wrote the first chapter of The Shining. That's where he came up with the idea for The Shining. He was on holiday here. But this is where we're going to focus on here. These little traffic lights here on the corner of Southampton Row and Russell Square. It seems very unassuming. So, in the early 1930, there was a Hungarian Jewish scientist called Leo Szilard. He got his German citizenship around that point. It was a difficult time for him to be in that country, obviously being Jewish and Hungarian. So he fled to the United Kingdom, started doing his work here. He was a scientist. More buses, very noisy. He was a scientist. On the 12th of September 1933, he was walking along the street heading this way. It wasn't really said where he was going. He was in a bit of a daze that morning because he'd just read an article in the Times where Lord Rutherford had basically taken all of his research. He had said, Leo Szilard had said that atomic particles could be used for practical uses. And Lord Rutherford had said, no, that's absolute bollocks. He didn't use the word bollocks, obviously. He said, that's absolute tosh. You can't do that. And he besmirched all of Leo Szilard and his students' research. And he was walking along the street, along here, quite angry and upset about what he'd read. Got to the stoplights just there. He was in a bit of a daze, staring up at the lights. It had been a bit drizzly that day. And he was so angry that all of a sudden he said that by the time the lights had changed and he'd stepped off the pavement onto the road, that everything he needed to do made perfect sense by that point. All of his anger had quelled and he just knew what he had to do. So from that point, at that moment, seeing that drizzle on the lights, everything made sense. A year later, he'd created the first nuclear reaction. A year after that, he'd patented the first atomic reactor. And from that point onwards, he sent a letter to Albert Einstein about his research. And that letter led to the creation of the Manhattan Project, which is the birth of the atomic weapon. So from here, from this little moment here of a man standing here at these traffic lights, angry about what Lord Rutherford had said, obviously being a lord, he was respected. People went, oh, he must be telling the truth. He was so angry that from this point, this is the birth of nuclear weapons and nuclear war.